and welcome to Skipsey Trains. A slightly different video from usual. Normally you just get to see bits of trains going around the layout with maybe a little bit of music here and there. Well, literally having had two requests. I've had suggestions that I really should appear on my videos. Well, I'm dipping my toe in the water, and at least you're going to get to hear my voice at first. And I thought, well, what better than to give you a tour of the layout so you can see it as it is in its finest, for want of a better phrase. Mess excused, but yeah, I'll give you a bit of a tour of the layout so you can see how it evolves and some of the ideas that we've got for how it's going to move forward. So here goes. So the theme behind Skipsey is it's kind of a journey to the seaside, or a journey to work. It's based in the home counties, and it's an inspiration from the 10 years that I spent living in and working in the south. So I travelled on various journeys from London, and they either were to work from my digs, basically off the Reading line and around the Hounslow Loop and trips like that. So where you'd see your southwest trains, blue outer suburban and red inner suburban trains, the 707s, the 455s, the 450s, the 458s, things like that. But also going home, I'd be on, if I'm unfortunate, 450s, but generally 444s and things like that. And being in Waterloo Station every week, and seeing those trains and the journey through Clapham Junction, so you'll see southern trains and things like that, were the inspiration behind this layout. I mean, don't get me wrong, the fleet of trains that we have is countrywide. It's not area specific. If I like it, I buy it, but I've got quite a bit in order to run a service or a layout that's based on southwest trains and things like that, with southern units going through there as well. So the idea of a trip to the seaside or a trip into the suburbs starts at its main terminus station. The layout has 4 continuous run circuits, all 4 are here in shot, running through the main station. But the idea is it'll have an overall route eventually, and the 4 circuits will cut off, i.e. you'll not see them continuously run. They'll come into the station as though it's the terminus, but somehow I'm going to conceive of a way to have them hidden at a scenic break, and should I wish, I can run the trains so that just set them going and watch them run around and relax and this and that and the other. But also I wanted to keep the idea that if I wanted, I could create a timetable and run to that timetable, and trains could come in and leave from all platforms. And as you may be able to see on the right hand side of the shot, there is a lower level which is a large fiddle yard, which can be reached through a Helix. And that's the idea. Trains can leave here, arrive here. It's a terminus station. The plan is it is going to be to a degree based on Waterloo Station. I mean, nothing on this layout is exact, a perfect replica of real life. I don't see my skills as being anywhere near that, but it's a representation, and that's the plan. Whether I'm being a little over optimistic in my ambitions, time will tell. But this is what I have. This station is frankly enormous, and it's enormous also in part due to the fact that it effectively becomes part of the fiddle yard, the storage area of the layout. This is the store part. I've got one of two areas of storage on the scenic layout. There are 3 sidings on the opposite side where the train care depot is, but it helps with the immense amount of trains that we're looking at operating. So we have various bay platforms. There's going to be some in effectively the Eurostar terminal, as was, that will appear in this station with a different type of roof than the rest of the areas. Some of the bays are differently sized, not necessarily prototypical for Waterloo, but I thought it'd be quite nice. So I've got a 3-car bay for things like Exeter trains and what have you. Towards the end, we've got a nice wide space for the concourse, and outside of that we'll have a bit of a kind of a London street scene with your black cabs and your red buses and half relief or low relief buildings opposite a full relief station frontage. To the back of the station there is a raised area. This is going to be a single track line that will run from it will be a shared line between a preserved railway and a suburban railway, and the preserved line station will be off away from this city scenescape on the other side of a scenic break, and it will actually be in the seaside holiday area, but because of space constraints, the actual length of the line will run behind this station and it will run round to the town scene, which we'll move on to next. So, as we leave the terminus station, we come to our town scene. The trains leave the station and go into a tunnel, and the town is above the main running lines that we have currently built and having in shot. There will be a shuttle line, a shared suburban and preserved line that runs in this area. And it comes off the raised section to the side of the terminus station, the Waterloo station. This area will contain shops, hotels, housing. There are 2 models of Rails of Sheffield currently in the shop. At least one of those will end up on this layout because it was originally built for Skipsey, but as we're nowhere near ready for it, it ended up in the shop on display. You will see there are currently lots of point motors and decoders and things like that in this area. The layout was conceived to be operated by hand on the points. Past experience has shown me not to have too good fortune with the motors that I had. Points are now retrofitted in areas where it's difficult to get hold of, in tunnels and things like that. However, I have bought new point motors. I haven't really used the Pico ones I had before. I am using the Rails Connect point motors. They seem to have a bit more bite to them, a bit more power. They are so much more reliable. They really are impressive, and they are DTC controlled. But we'll come onto that later. So trains will come out of a tunnel at the other side of the town and will enter into Waybridge Station. This is the main suburban station that we have on the layout that basically a run through for the most part, and in the background we have Waybridge Train Care Depot. Now, the idea behind the names of stations have come in this way. Originally, one of these stations was called Skipsey, and I think the one in the Ray suburban area will be that station. However, the names have developed around the layout in that three of them, one will be London Waterloo, another will be Waybridge, and the third will be Kew Bridge. Those three stations all exist in real life, and I don't like to model something in real life because I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be capable of making an exact model of it. So what we're doing, or what I'm doing, I am basically misspelling them. This is Waybridge as in to weigh yourself, not as in Waybridge in outer London. The idea behind that is I have recorded a heck of a lot of station announcements and on-train announcements. The idea being to use the Train Tech sound modules and to have automated station announcements. And in that sense, we needed to use actual station names. And that's the idea. So this is Waybridge. Four running lines, or 4 circuits, all go through here, and there was one siding which terminates here. That's now recently been extended, and it's going to be a shared line for London Overground and London Underground, with London Underground being the only trains that go beyond and round the corner into a short to form a short shuttle service. This is the most developed station area, and most recent work on the layout has been around here with the ballasting and the installation of footpaths and what have you in the train care depot. Third rails need to go in, and the plan is not to have it too dirty. It's as though it's had a recent refurbishment, so we're going to keep it fairly clean. Following on from there, railings will be going up between there and the main running lines. Ballast will go down in the station, and all the usual paraphernalia, such as drainage, and of course the signalling's got to go in as well, etc, etc. The idea behind this is going to be very Art Deco, as you can tell from the Bachmann Scenecraft buildings here. And the influence behind this, in my eyes, is Surbiton Station. So all the brickwork will be whitewashed. All the posters will be based on the likes of Southwest Trains rather than the older style posters that are there now. And it'll be totally modernised with modern fixtures and fittings and this and that, the other modern signage and that sort of thing. Pitched roof on the platform canopy on platforms 2 and 3 in the centre, and then we're going to have the full relief Art Deco booking hall on platform 1, where you can currently see the 1938 tube stop. As you leave Waybridge Station, you head towards the viaduct. The viaduct being the most advanced part of the layout in terms of scenery. And as I say, as you leave Waybridge Station, the trains cross Kew Bridge Junction. Kew Bridge is the name of the bridge that we've lost the name I've given to the bridge, but much like the stations, this is Kew Bridge, as in Queue, and not Kew. It's a place all on its own. It is not a representation of Kew Bridge. Kew Bridge, of course, being a road bridge and not a road bridge anyway. The look of the bridge does lend itself greatly towards that of Maidenhead Viaduct, a fantastic structure I have had the pleasure of going to see. It's constructed using Hornby viaducts and the Hornby River Bridge. I did go to town on it. It is 4 structures deep, 4 river bridges deep, 4 viaducts deep, but there are 8 viaducts. 4 at one side, then 4 river bridges, another 4 river bridges, and 4 viaducts. It's quite a big structure, I must say. And I intend to make a separate video on this to talk you through the thought process behind building this, and where I got my inspirations, aside from the actual physical structure, but where I got my inspirations from in terms of how I chose to build it and the way I did. As we move away from Kew Bridge, the 4 tracks separate. So 2 off to the left are, in theory, they're going to disappear into a tunnel, and in theory are going away off to the likes of Weymouth and Portsmouth Harbour and those longer distance journeys. Those off to the right are in effect forming what I would call the Hounslow Loop, or they are the suburban lines to Reading. Areas like that. And no sooner do the 2 pairs of lines split, those closest to us enter into Kew Bridge Station. Kew Bridge is a simple station with just station shelters, a bicycle shelter, a few bits and pieces like that. No actual amenities, just basic stuff, and it's a relatively straight platform, not perfectly but relatively straight, and that was the idea, the inspiration behind what's going here. Well, unfortunately, as you can see, straight is not the best description for this location, and it will be quite an extremely curved platform. What's more, I was quite taken by the Bachmann Seamcraft buildings of Sheffield Park Station. They recently brought them back out again, and one batch was in the southern cream and green colour scheme, and in the end I thought, what the heck, and I bought those, and they are now going to appear here. It's probably going to look more similar to the likes of Hounslow Station down the line, because it's got a building, it's got a canopy that will be on one side of the station only. So those are going to appear here. I've got a concrete footbridge that's going to go here, and that's going to be the look for this station. Moving on from Kew Bridge Station, you've seen this shot before when I mentioned the Helix. This is the Helix, but the reason for showing this again is in the foreground are the 4 circuits and running lights. The entrance and exit to the lower fiddle yard only comes off the outside line. As you can see, one of the entrance and exit points is to the bottom of this screen. This whole area will be covered. There'll be an elevated area over here, and this is where the preserved line will be. It will start and finish from here. There'll also be a 009 gauge line. We've got the engine, we've got some track. Apart from a test, it's otherwise not being used, and that's going to go into this area as well. We have so many things to cram into this scenic area, but this is the end of the line effectively. This is the trip to the seaside. So the closer you get to the camera, you'll find towards the end there'll be a cliff face, and then you'll have your seafront, and that's your trip to the beach. We've enclosed your trip from the city through the suburbs and then out to the seaside. and that's the journey. And once you're there, you can go on the preserve line and you can visit various places. And that's, in essence, the layout. That is Skipsey, the whole journey. And so here is a nice wide shot. Waybridge Station is literally behind the camera, and that's looking out towards the rest of the layout. Bridge Viaduct is literally just to the right. It just cannot be seen, and the Helix is towards the left. The layout is controlled by DTC. I was quite taken by the idea of introducing sound onto the layout, and we operate using the ESU ecosystem. Somewhat underutilised based on the amount of things it can do, mainly because I'm still trying to work out how to work the thing, but it is a fantastic piece of kit, and I'm glad I've made the investment in this. Many modelers actually like the idea of having DTC but still not controlling points using that system. They'd sooner use the analog system of point control. I kind of understand that idea. I wanted something digital, I really did, but the idea of having a system that operates the points that is not part of the DTC system that's operating the trains makes perfect sense, because you don't want to mess around trying to go from one screen to another to operate points. So what I've done is I have two DC systems, one for the trains, one for the points, and I'm using the rail controller software as part of the Bachmann dynamic system to control the points. And here I have the layout on screen, and it literally is just touch screen. Touch it with your finger, points change. Brilliant. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tour of Skipsey, so you can see what it looks like in its entirety and how it's going to be built up. I think the plan is we're going to give you updates as we go along, so that you can see the progress of the layout, and we'll leave you today with shots of some of the latest rolling stock to enter the fleet, and that's the latest set of wagons from Accurascale. So enjoy the shots, and we'll see you again.